been craving to get on my crema. I have been craving, like literally craving getting on camera. I don't know if I have 5 minutes spare to myself or 2 hours. That's how we roll these days. I never ever know how much time to myself I'm going to have, but when I do have some time to myself, I'm going to take advantage of it. So I've put on makeup today and I've turned the camera on and here I am, bitch. Here the I am. I literally thought when I was pregnant, I'm never going to read a book again. I'm never going to have that passion back. And though I find it hard now to find time to read, and you know the drill. If you have kids, you know the drill. Especially with your first, you just don't know what the fuck you're doing half the time. And it's just hard. It's just hard. I'm not going to lie, it's fucking hard. And you just don't know if you're going to be able to pamper yourself with the basic needs like hygiene, food, you know, sleep. Like, it's all about sacrifice. And like with reading, every day I have to make a decision. Like, do I go to sleep right now while he's asleep and get the sleep that I need before I lose my marbles? Or do I read? Like, sacrifice, bitch. That's what it's like to be a mum. Now, yes, there's not 155 books in this video. There's about 4. If that. I just wanted to get on camera and talk about books and just sex and all the good things in life, you know, romance, sex and sex, sex in romance, romance in sex. The first book I want to shout out, I've already mentioned on my Instagram and in my last video, which was like a month ago, I think. Sorry about it. Look at these hairs. I did get my hair done recently. I got it colored. I went darker. It's already like not as dark. And I'm like, I'm going to book in again because I want it darker. I'm feeling like the darkness. I just want to have like dark hair. I don't want to go black, but I want to be like chocolate dark. Okay, anyway, yes, the book I want to talk about first is Blood Orange. I mentioned this in my last video. If you haven't seen it, it was just a random book haul. I was 3 weeks postpartum, and to be honest, I don't even remember filming that video. And it's just my favorite book. Okay, one of my favorite books. And this whole world that Karina Halle has written is my favorite. One of my favorite worlds I've ever read, and this is one of my favorite reads of this year. The hero in this book is Dracula. Like what Dracula is based off, which I think is so fucking cool that Karina did that. And it's set now in this time, but there's certain parts of this book that are written in the past. It's not dual timelines, as in like every chapter you go back to the past, but there is chapters that you do go back in time for a specific reason to do with the heroine and the hero and their love story in this book. I just loved it. It was dark, out of this world, because this is kind of a part of, it's not a series, but they're interconnected standalones. So you've got Black Sunshine, The Love is the Blood, which is a duet about the same couple. Then you've got Nightwolf, which is a friends to lovers, which I love, and it's just the best friends to lovers I've ever read. And then you've got Dracula and the part 2 to this book, which is coming out in December. And you can read them in any order that you want, and you do see all the characters from all the books in each book, if that makes sense. My point of saying that was, oh my god, why was I telling you that? This one is the darkest. I mean, like, the sex is like, we've got a lot of blood play, you know, dubious consent, consensual, non-consensual. So if you're not into that, then you probably won't be into this book. Even if you're not into vampires, I do highly recommend you try this series and all the books from this world, because they are my favorite. This next book I was not expecting. So this book is called From the Embers. Holy shit, bitch. For starters, it's 288 pages. Can we just clap? Because if I see another book that is like 670,000 pages, I'm going to cry. I don't even want to read a book when I see that it's that big. I don't even want to open the first page, because I'm just like so scared that I'll get like halfway through and get bored or something, and then I feel like I've wasted my time. Does anyone else get that, or is that just me? We've got 2 couples. One wife is best friends with the other wife. One husband is best friends with the other husband, and one of the wives and one of the husbands do not like each other whatsoever. But they do get together quite often and hang out, and they all have young kids that are around the same age as well. And I just want to say that I loved the children in this book. The characters were talking about like postpartum, pregnancy, like newborns, babies, and I totally like got it because I'm going through that right now, and I was like, understand, we are one. I love when you can connect to a character in a book that you're reading. Like obviously we all love that, but I mean like you literally are going through the same shit and you're like, relatable. One night they get together to have like a couples night, I don't know, eat some food, drink some wine, and just hang out together, and the house explodes. The house explodes, and one of the wives and one of the husbands dies, and the two people that are left alive are the husband and wife that aren't married, that hate each other. Characters have great chemistry. The hero is to die for. What's his name again? Oh my god, what's his name? I hate that I don't remember their names anymore. I used to be so good. I used to be able to remember every character. Now I cannot do that. I don't remember his name right now off the top of my head, but he was like smoking hot. Such a good dad, babe. Like, oh my god, the way he handled his daughter in this book, I was like, oh, that gets me going. I just thoroughly enjoyed this book, and now I want to go check out the author's backlist. I have read a couple of books from this author, but now I'm going to go back and see if I can find any more that I really like. And the fact that the book was only 288 pages, that sold it to me, and I just love that about a book these days. Next up, we've got Wicked by Amo Jones. I was so excited when I saw that she was writing this. I was so excited when she released this because 𝐒𝐿 is one of my favorite standalones, and it may not be my favorite book from Amo, but it was the first book that I read from her, and like that's how I discovered Amo Jones. Back when I read 𝐒𝐿, Wicked, which is the name of this book, he is a character in 𝐒𝐿, and I met him. Well, whoever's read the book met him, and he instantly piqued my interest, and I was like, this hero, I need to know more about him. She announced back when 𝐒𝐿 was released that Wicked was going to be a story, but she just didn't know when she was going to write it and release it, and then she did recently, and oh my god, Wicked is not what I expected, okay? Because 𝐒𝐿 is an MC romance, like it's a motorcycle club. It's like, yeah, that's the trope. That's the steez of that book. But it starts off all mafia, and I didn't know that. And Amo has written mafia before, but she does it like really different. It's not like stock standard mafia that you read, and this wasn't stock standard either, but I really fucking liked it, and I loved the heroine. I loved Ruby. And you know that when you read one of Amo's heroes, you're gonna get what the fuck you're looking for, and Wicked was that. Smoking hot, baby. Smoking hot. And just like confidence. He had this confidence about him, and I was like, oh, do I like him more than Royce? No, I don't know. There was something about Royce, the hero in 𝐒𝐿, that just hit different for me. The next book I just want to shout out, I read this before I had my baby, and I read this during spooky season, but again, it was one of my favorite books that I've read this year because it was just so different and unconventional, and I love an unconventional romance. And I had so many people who had messaged me and been like, you need to read this because this is totally your book, like totally your style. And this is Pen Pal by JT Gessinger. So I ended up getting on Instagram about this book as well, and I said, if anyone's going to choose to read this book, to go in blind. It's just better if you go into the book and you don't know what it's about. And so many people messaged me and were like, what the fuck? I went in blind and it was totally not what I thought, and they ended up not liking it because they went in blind. But I can't and will not cave and tell you guys too much about this because again, I feel like if you don't go in blind, you don't get the full effect. So Pen Pal is about this woman who loses her husband, right? And she's going through like the grieving process of losing her husband. Heartbreaking. Not a vibe. And she starts getting these really random letters from a secret admirer who says that they know her, but she doesn't know them. And it says in the letters that they're in prison. And she's just like, I don't know anyone who's in prison, like what the fuck? And these letters are showing up in random places in her house. And she doesn't know how they're getting there. So she's kind of like going through the grieving process with her husband at the same time as getting all these like secret letters from a secret admirer. And she's trying to figure out who this person is, where these letters are coming from. But at the same time, this kind of relationship blooms between her and this handyman dude that she's hired to fix the ceiling. Because this house that she's living in, she bought with her dead husband, and it's like old and falling apart, and there's a leak in the ceiling, so she hires this handyman to come and fix it for her. And then a relationship sparks between those two. Sounds weird, I know, because you've got a couple of things going on, but in the end, it all comes full circle, bitch, and you're like, what the actual... That is all the books that I have to tell you guys about. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know what my next video is going to be. I think I want to do a TBR video because over the past 2 weeks, I've just been putting so many new releases and new books and books I've found that I haven't heard people talk about on my TBR. And I think I want to sit down and talk about them and just show you guys. I don't know. Do you want to see a TBR video? I don't know if I'll end up reading them all. Let's be honest. Every time I do a TBR video, I actually don't end up reading majority of the books that are on my list. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it wasn't a ton of books, but if you haven't read any of these, I highly suggest that you do, especially if you're into like the same books as me, which you clearly are if you're here and you're watching this video. Thanks so much for watching. It means the world to me. I hope you have a good day wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!